This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by Triple Wide Media. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the Church Media Designer. I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I am joined every week by my favorite bobbleheaded friends. You got it right. We got Jamie and Adam from the Mythbusters. We got Dwight Schrute from The Office. We got Little Whitey, the miniature version of me, and of course, Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, it's so good to be back with you guys. I know it's been a little while since we've put out a new episode, but we definitely have a bunch of new content coming down the pipe, so sometimes it'll be a little sporadic. And one of the reasons that I was actually gone lately is because I've been doing a bunch of kinetic-type freelance design work. So I've been doing some freelance videos and stuff like that that have been really taking up a lot of my time, and hopefully I'll be able to show you those videos to you guys here in the future. But it was a lot of fun doing that, as well as I was at the Gurus at Tech Conference, and I had a lot of stuff going on my plate, so we had to take a little bit of a break, but we're back, and I got some great news for you. While I was gone, I actually got in contact, and today's tutorial is not by me, but it's by our newest contributor here at Church Media Design, and part of the Church Media Design family is Nick Koo. Now, Nick is formerly an editor for Hillsong Church in Australia. He recently left there and is working at another place, but still is doing his awesome blog, nickkoo.com, and he is now going to start contributing to CMD, so it's super cool. We're going to be talking about how to take green screening, what we do here all the time, and what you maybe think about doing for videos or for announcement loops, and he's going to talk about how do you actually integrate the footage into the background so it doesn't just look like a keyed out person on a green screen and some flat image in the background that don't really jive together. So he's going to really talk about the little steps that make a big difference in making that look realistic and not fake, like when you watch TV and you're like, that obviously is green screened. Why don't I have that guy's job because he stinks at what he does? Especially there's a Jillian Michaels ad on TV where there's a green halo around her, and I'm like, she's the Biggest Loser chick. She's got her own brand. You would think she could hire a better company to actually key out her background or at least get a decent camera. But anyway, all that to say, we got some awesome stuff this episode, so we're going to be talking about that, as well as I got some free game graphics for you. We got a whole bunch of news that we missed while I was gone, as well as a great stockpile full of tons of great stuff for you guys. So if my bobbleheaded friends are ready, let's get into it. Well, since our last episode came out, there's been a bunch of news going on. You know, we got a new iPad that's got 2 cameras in it. Most people say they are some of the worst cameras Apple's ever shipped in any of their products. However, you can output 1080p video from your iPad to your TV set, as well as they came out with that same dongle for iPhone 4, which can output 720p content to your TV set over HDMI. However, it can't do mirroring. That's only in the iPad. So that happened, as well as a bunch of people got together and said, you know what? Rob Bell should go to hell. We think he's a heretic. He's a horrible person. I have no idea. I'm just sick of hearing about it, as well as South by Southwest Interactive, which is a huge deal in Austin, Texas, just happened. And while everyone was gathered there, a bunch of companies said, you know what? There's not enough location services around right now, so we should probably make some more. So instead of just having Gowalla, Facebook, Places, and Foursquare, they said, you know, we should launch like 7 other location-based services for social check-ins. So a little ridiculous. But I tell you all of that because, well, some of that kind of matters, some of it doesn't really matter. Most of it really doesn't matter to you, the Church Media Designer. So I'm here with some news that actually matters to you. And the first piece of news that actually matters to you is about streaming. Now, if you guys are live streaming your worship gatherings or services online, you have to have a separate license to stream your music than what you have for your in-gathering times. Now, for an in-gathering, you need something like a CCLI CCLI license or something equivalent to that that allows you to play that music, but you also need one for online. And up until now, there's been, basically one solution from Copyright Solver called Worshipcast. Well, just recently, CCLI said, we're going to help you out as well, and they came out with the church streaming and podcast license. Share your worship with the world. Now, they say it's the perfect solution, simple, affordable, and the right thing to do. We can see here they have their license fees. So for churches, $1,500 or less, you're talking about $150. For a lot of churches, it's going to be sub $100, and even if you're ginormous, it's only $750. Now, they have a license fact sheet here that talks about the 3,000 publishers and 20,000 songs that are covered from the vast majority of Christian songs in worship services, as well as you can do podcasting on this, and it requires no reporting. So there's some different interesting things. One thing they note in here, and they actually updated this info because right after this came out, I checked it out and I said, forget it, man. I'm getting rid of Copyright Solver's Worshipcast. It's too expensive for the church that I'm a part of. So, we don't want this. Let's go with the cheaper solution with CCLI. And so I started looking into it and that sort of thing. And immediately, Copyright Solver came out with a blog post that talked about the differences between their two things. So right here on the Copyright Community blogs, Worshipcast and CCLI, what's the difference? And they talk about a couple things of price, and they talk about how the price is pretty comparable. Let's be honest, the price isn't totally comparable. The cheapest Worshipcast license is $500 and $925 for churches that are larger than 500. So right there, you're talking about a huge difference in price, in my opinion. So you can see here that for a church of 500, you're either at $75 or $100, not $500. So there is a big price difference, and even their top amount of $925 is higher than CCLI's top amount. So there's a big price difference between the two, but there is another thing going on here, and that is that CCLI does not cover everything. And that's the thing they talk about here. So they talk about the catalog, and their catalog of 20,000 Christian songs. Worshipcast covers more than 16 million songs from ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. So you have this huge use of pretty much everything. CCLI does not cover all of that stuff. And, the one big difference is that you can do podcasting through the CCLI one. You can't do that through the Worshipcast one. And the only other thing you can see here is charging for viewing. One thing the CCLI doesn't allow you to do is you can't charge people to watch your live event, where Worshipcast will allow you to do that. So, maybe you're putting on a concert and you want to charge admission for an online viewing of whatever it may be. You can do that as long as you don't make more than $13,000 a year from those live streaming events. You're totally fine, which is pretty interesting. So, but that does not include giving. I don't think that's part of that. So that's not a part of that puzzle. So if you want to read up more about this and figure out which solution's best, maybe your catalog of music fits into that 20 or 200,000 songs, but maybe your catalog of music is way bigger. I know that we do secular cover songs, and that wouldn't be covered inside that CCLI license. So you got to check out the pros and cons of both. So that was one big thing I wanted to bring to your attention. The next one is from ProPresenter, and ProPresenter, as you guys know, is one of my favorite presentation softwares. I'll take a look at all the other ones, but I still haven't found something that is as rapidly developing and trying new things as well as rock solid. And the new thing they just came out with is the Advanced module. Now you might say, well, the Advanced module's been out for a long time, but it hasn't been out for Windows. They just released it for Windows. And what the Advanced module does is it allows you to do triple wide content or double wide content. So you can see here, you need a separate card to do this. So you need like a triple head to go or a dual head to go, which you can buy from Matrox. And they're not horribly expensive, but it allows you to do triple wide content. And the cool thing is you can actually say what you want on each screen. So you could say, I only want the slides on my left and right screen, but not my center screen. Or I want, video and images to be on all of them. Or maybe you want a props layer to be on one screen versus everything else, which would allow you to actually, maybe you had just two screens, you could do a props screen on one side and you can do other content on the other. So you could have like a props layer of a series title, while over here you have notes for the teaching so that your teacher can have both things up at the same time, or they can be pointing out two different things at once, which is pretty cool. So it allows you to do that, so you can do all these different multi-screen things. However, there's the network node is Mac only right now, and the SDI output is Mac only right now. So there's a few different limitations that are only for the Mac side, but at least it's on the PC. It's going to allow you to use your PCs to do triple 3 screens or even dual screens with multiple content scaled across all of them. So I think that's pretty rad. So that's some news that's actually important to you. Well, let's reach into the stockpile and grab some great resources for you and your church. And the first one is from the Gurus of Tech Conference. If you guys weren't able to make it to Chicago for the Gurus Conference, it was an awesome time. I really enjoyed being there. I unfortunately had to leave a little early and I missed the last session, but luckily enough, they recorded all of the video and put it up online for your viewing pleasure, so you can check it out on their website. They have all of the different main sessions here. So there's actually there's 4 or 5 different sessions, but one of them isn't available because it's just all worship stuff. So there's 4 different sessions, really great stuff in there. So I want to encourage you guys to check it out. Robert Scoville was there, who's a legendary sound mixer, and he had some great practical advice. So if you're looking for some good wisdom for your sound guys, I encourage you to check out that interview, as well as the last session was really great, and I want to encourage you guys to check that one out as well. So you can find that over at gurusoftech.com. Now the next one is for all of you out there who are using WordPress. Now if you're using WordPress for your church or for a personal blog or something like that, or for even just a ministry area, there's a great new plugin that is, it's a multitude of plugins. Now there's 2 different types of WordPress. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.org is self-hosted WordPress blogs, and WordPress.com is owned by Automatic, and they develop and they host all these tons and tons of blogs. And they actually got attacked recently by this crazy DDoS attack from China. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. Well, they actually have a ton of interesting plugins that are just for .com users, and a lot of people on WordPress.org would really like them because they're great plugins, but they're just not available. They're customized for their WordPress.com installs. Well, they just came out with this plugin called Jetpack, and you can find it out here. And what it has is it supercharges your self-hosted WordPress sites with the awesome cloud power of WordPress.com. So you can see it's got WordPress.com stats, which are really great. The Twitter widget, WP.me short links, ShareDaddy, a bunch of different things, short embeds for short codes, and they actually have more stuff coming soon. So it's a really great, concise download that's got everything inside of it, as opposed to what I do right now, which is I have the WordPress.com stats installed, and then I have the Twitter widget installed, and so it allows you to do all of it in one place. So it's a really great plugin. Now the next one kind of goes back to all that law stuff I was talking about in the news, and it's really important for us in the church to know our rights and what we can and can't do. Just because we're a nonprofit organization doesn't mean everything we do falls underneath fair use. There's a lot of gray that we need to either choose black or white, which gets really hard at times, because it's like, well, why should I choose if no one has the truth out there for me to understand what to choose? Well, one company and one website's trying to help you with that, and that's the Church Law Group, and this is their YouTube channel. And they have a bunch of great videos on here, like mergers and acquisitions, like if your church and another church merge during a multi-site deal, what does that look like? What does that mean? How difficult is that if you're thinking about doing it? It talks about being in trouble with the wall. They talked about the Super Bowl and what you can and can't do and all those sorts of things, as well as you can hire this company out to do law work for you, but they also have great free advice here on their YouTube channel, so I encourage you to check that out. Next is the Keybox app for the iPhone or iPod. You can get it on the iPad, but it's not going to scale up right. It'll be, you know, a little shrunken deal. But the Keybox app is a shortcut reference app for both Cinema 4D and After Effects. It first came out for Cinema 4D, and I was like, whoop-de-doo, I don't have 10 grand to buy Cinema 4D, and so I don't really care about this app. But then they came out with it for After Effects, and I'm like, now I'm paying attention. You can sell me on that one. So they have it for Cinema 4D and After Effects. It only talks about the Cinema 4D one here on the website, but if you search Keybox on the iTunes store, the App Store, you'll find both the After Effects and Cinema 4D one. It's an awesome app, really great to pull up what are my hotkeys for this thing, or how can I get a shortcut to make this go faster. So it's really helpful in your design process. So make sure to check out the Gurus of Tech videos, Jetpack, the Keybox app, and of course Church Law's videos on how to keep yourself out of trouble, and add all of that stuff to your stockpile. Well, before we move on, let's say thank you to our sponsor of Triple Wide Media. Now, TripleWideMedia.com is your source for multi-screen content, whether it be stills or loops or countdowns or even videos. They have your multi-screen content covered. And it's not just one producer. This is a site with a ton of different producers, and there's a ton of great content on here. You can check out their website here. We got this Oregon sunset going on here. You know, we got some different ambient abstract stuff, and if we check out some of their different featured ones, we can see like this Star of David loop, and we can preview the triple wide so we can see what it would look like, and it's a nice, just, you know, chillin' background here. And if we check out the info page for this, you can actually preview, preview a single wide or a double wide of any of these videos. So we can preview what does the double wide version of this look like, and what does the single wide version of this look like. And what this does is it makes this site future proof. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I know a lot of you out there are thinking about doing multi-screen, or you're not doing multi-screen right now, and you say, well, this has nothing to do with me. I don't know why you're talking about this, but it does, because every single piece of media you buy on this site, you get the triple wide, double wide, and single wide version, all for the same price. You don't have to pay extra, and all of your media never expires. So once you buy it, you can always log back in and download a different version. So if you're looking to buy media, why not buy media from here that you have all of these different versions for the future? So maybe a year from now, when you decide to do an event that has triple wide content, or you decide to do triple wide content all the time, this site has you covered. And guess what? The price is great. It's $12 for any of the motion content. The other prices are pretty similar, and so you can get all of those different versions. So I encourage you to go check out TripleWideMedia.com.
Hey guys, my name is Nick, and this is my tutorial on color matching for green screen. Now, I don't know if this is something that gets covered a lot, but I know that a lot of people do green screen and kind of don't realize all the processes that kind of go with green screening. It's not really just a matter of just throwing someone onto a blank background and just hoping it all matches up, because the truth is, like, when you shoot elements in different areas and different, different sections, everything's not going to match. So let's just go through. There's some really basic techniques that I just want to take you through, just to sort of give you an idea of how to match things, match elements together so that they actually work seamlessly in a green screen, so that your green screen will actually look better, and you'll be happy with the final result. Anyway, so this is a movie that I did a while ago called The Forgiven. Last Easter I did it, actually, sort of a parody on a bit of a dig at the whole Jesus and forgiveness thing. Sorry, I'm not really having a dig at people. It's just this. You have to watch the movie to see what I mean. Anyway, I'm not trivializing the Easter story in any way. You have to watch it to see what I mean. Anyway, but you'll see. So all this stuff was shot on green screen, obviously, but there is actually a fair amount of work that goes into making this seem quite the level that it is. Anyway, as you can see here, one of the key aspects of shooting good green screen is actually what you shoot on. Shooting on DV is generally quite hazardous. I would suggest not shooting it. There's a lot of HD formats now that can shoot. You can shoot stuff to do a really good green screen. But if you're gonna do digital, I would suggest shooting on something like the Panasonic HVX 200s or 202s. They have a really nice codec that's actually really good for green screening if you shoot at like 1080 by 1920 at the max res, and it's really nice. Like, it's a really good codec to shoot in. That's what I would recommend. But if you don't have that and you've only got a 1280 by 720 camera to shoot in, that's totally fine. Just but there's a couple of things you need to get right before you decide to kind of do the green screen. Now, I just want to point out that this is nobody that I know, but this is just something that you need to kind of pay attention to. When you do your shoots for green screen, it is important to make sure that you set up your subject right. So this is the basic 3-point lighting system. As most people would know, if you don't know about this, you can just go read up about it online. 3-point lighting is just the object in the middle, the person you're trying to light, a backlight, a key light, and a fill light. This is your main light per se. If you can only have 2 lights, and I guess you can have a key light and a fill light. Otherwise, you can just have a key light. You don't have to have the backlight per se, but it does give a lot better separation. And when you do put things in there, it does make it look like they're not just a flat person on a background. Unfortunately, in my movie, I actually didn't really do that. I didn't actually put them in there, but I guess I was going for a particular look where if in real life, I guess, when you're outside and stuff, like, lighting doesn't actually give you a lot of backlight, especially in full sunlight, like in the desert. So I thought, well, I didn't want to put them in that kind of situation. But in most situations, especially when you're doing interviews or anything that gets thrown in the background, you'll watch this kind of lighting and you'll notice it in TV all the time. I'm not going to cover everything about green screening. If you want to cover green screening in depth, there's one video Copilot here called Basic Color Keying, and it's really great, and Andrew Kramer covers it really well. And we're going to use the technique that he says in this particular tutorial, plus something else which is covered in Mark Christensen's After Effects CS5 Visual Effects and Compositing Studio Techniques. If you don't have this book and you're really into After Effects and you want to push your After Effects skills to go to the next level, I would recommend this. Andrew Kramer has recommended this before. I did get it and I haven't looked back. It's a really good investment into your education. And look, it's only how much is this book? Well, it says here the Kindle edition is $26.39, but whatever. Who wants to read anything on online anyway? You want to read it in paper, right? Anyway, that's not the point. All right, let's jump right into this. Okay, so here we go. This is the footage here, shot on a Panasonic. Well, it's not an HVX2, but it was a pretty, it's one of those cameras. It's one of the Panasonic cameras. I can't remember what they're called, but they're pretty nice. Anyway, so let's just drag key light in here. I'm just going to speed through this, go and pick a color, and let's go to screen matte. Okay, so it's not bad. I'll just push the gain up a little bit to 110, so most of that black is gone, but you can see here that there's still a bit of stuff around the corners there, and let's put the pre-screen blur up to 2, so it just sort of feathers the edges just a little bit. All right, it's not too bad. Now let's the black isn't too bad, but let's clip the black just a little bit more so we just get more separation there, and we'll bring the white down to 90, or maybe, yeah, 90 is not bad. Okay, maybe more, maybe 85. So it's looking pretty good. There's no detail here, and the hairs is still looking quite good. Let's roll it back just a little bit. We'll make it 1.2. I have done this already, so don't freak out that I've already kind of done this already, and we'll make this 0.3. So yeah, I have already tried this already, so I kind of already know what the numbers are, but you know, those are the things I basically look at. It's not a bad key, so I'll just show you what it looked like before and after. So that's it, and the separation is pretty good. Even here, it's got rid of most of the spill and everything, so it's quite a good key. You can see here down the bottom, I think that this is where it sort of loses it a little bit, but you know, you can't always have everything you want. Now let's also bring this picture that I got from Shutterstock. It's sort of a desert, sort of Jerusalem style kind of background. Well, I guess this is what the kind of deserts they would have out in Jerusalem. Now, okay, it's not a bad key per se, like it looks okay on its own, but there's a couple of things here you got to kind of have a look at, and it's just that it's clear that he's just thrown onto a background, and we just need to try and figure out how to actually match that. Well, the first thing I like to do is actually try and match the background with, you got to kind of pick which one is going to be the reference. So in this case, it would be easier for me to go to the background and change that rather than this. So what we're going to do is make one the reference. So this will be what we're going to look at, as in we're going to reference this image to and adjust this image to match the reference. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so let's go to curves, and we'll just bring this in. Now, this is the way that Mark Christensen said to do this, was to actually look, rather than having to adjust things like by eye, I guess, he just kind of pulled them down. Although the contrast here doesn't look too bad. In fact, I've kind of picked, unfortunately, I have picked a color that it looks very like these pictures together look quite similar anyway. But you mean, even now, as you can see, I'm pulling the contrast down and it looks quite all right as well. But sometimes that's not always the case. Like you'll have pictures from different color temps and different kind of looking backgrounds, and there's a way to kind of do it that's more foolproof, I guess. So if you want to look at it this way, let's have a look at the channels differently. So if you press Alt 1 or Option 1, you'll see, we'll look at the red channel on its own. As you can see here, the red channel was much more blown out than the red channel on the top. So if we look at the top one, we look at Sean. This is Sean, the actor in the movie Forgiven. He was a really great guy. I thought he was a very good Jesus. Anyway, so let's go to the red channel, and we're going to just pull this down so that if you can imagine looking at the black and white picture, this is going to match. Now it's getting there. The tops are still a little bit blown out, so I'm actually going to bring that down just a little bit. And oops, my bad. Yeah, okay, it looks a bit more like it matches. Okay, let's go to the green channel. The same likewise. This is also looking a little bit blown out, so let's bring down the tops. It's looking all right. And let's go to the blue channel. Blue channel doesn't look too bad actually. It's still a little bit high, but it's not too bad actually. Okay, and if you press, Alt 2 goes to the green channel and Alt 3 goes to the blue channel. Hopefully this will actually make it look like it works. So if we press Alt 3, we go back, and actually, if you see before and after, it actually matches a little bit better with what's actually happening in the picture. Now, it's not perfect yet. I'm actually not 100% happy with how that turned out. I actually think it needs just a little bit more red. I think I pulled the red down a little bit too high. Yeah. Just 1 second. I think actually it could, oops, that was a really nasty color correct. I think I pulled the green down a little bit too high. Okay, that looks a bit better. I'm actually happy with that. So, but that's the general technique you would use to try and match things. As you can see, it looks a bit better with the red, the green, and the blue. So that's how you would basically try and match. It takes a little bit of practice, but it does work. That's generally how you would do it to try and change it to match the colors. So if you can see before, it's quite yellow and blown out. And if you bring it down, it actually matches. It looks like it sits with him a lot better. So now, I'll just do an overall color. Now, what we're going to do now is to sort of pull these things all together. I'm just going to put a curves on him to kind of make, because at the moment, he looks quite different to the background anyway. So we're going to just push him up just a little bit more. because it's quite contrasty anyway. So just in the shadows, you just want to make him a little bit more contrasty, and just make sure that he works quite well. I actually think there's too much color in him as well, so we might actually have to pull some of the color out of him. Let's take the hue sets, and like he just looks like there's too much color in him compared to the back, and it's already looking a lot better now. So as you can see, he sort of matches a lot better with the background. I actually think he could twist that hue just a little bit. It's a little bit too, yeah, let's go this way. That looks a bit better. Now he looks like he blends in with the rocks a bit more. But I think that he fits in that scene a lot better. So there's a couple of things you can look at to kind of make sure. So if you kind of see what I mean, like blending all these elements together is not just simply just throwing something on. I mean, we can just sort of take off the color correction stuff just so you understand what I mean. But without it, that's basically what it looks like without it. Not that it looks terrible, but it doesn't look like it fits. But this is correcting the background, making it sort of in the same ballpark, and then pushing it back again with this picture. And there you go. You can kind of see that it's kind of matching up a bit better than what it was before. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add, finally, you would just add your final adjustment layer. And just to do some, this is where you can, once those two things are matched, this is where you can start kind of color grading a bit more. So I haven't actually color graded anything. I mean, you could just do whatever you like with it now. It's just a matter of your preference of what kind of style of color grading you like to do. I mean, this is a bit much actually. I could pull this down, give it a bit more of a cooler look, or more of a vintage look. And just so you can kind of see. Okay, so that's all well and good. Now the final thing you kind of need to make sure when you are doing blue screen is it's looking all right, but what you'll notice is that this footage, there is natural grain on a lot of things. Like on video, there's grain. There's definitely grain on there's definitely grain on video. So, and the footage, it's the image at the back actually doesn't have any grain whatsoever. So what we can do is, I would suggest, is actually we can actually put some grain on top. So we just add some grain. And this takes forever to render, so I wouldn't suggest doing it this way. But what you can do is you can render some grain out. I'm going to take this filter off for a second. You can render some grain out. You can see here there's a preview region, and that's what's going to happen. So we're just going to turn the intensity down just a little bit, so maybe 0.8. And I know this doesn't look very obvious right now, but it makes a big difference in the final render, and you do need grain to kind of match everything up. I'm actually going to put a little bit of a vignette on the background, because I actually think it doesn't, I think it looks a little bit, what's it called? A little bit too much, to be honest. So just kind of just see what I can do. So just sort of to frame the subject a little bit more. This is just a rectangle mask I'm doing. And I'll switch my resolution to half, because this is sort of killing my computer a little bit, and you guys can't really see the difference anyway. I just pressed M there for mask, and let's do this. Oh no, that's the wrong way. Whoops. Oh, was I going the right way? No, this is the right way. Okay, good. And we'll just invert it. Just pull this in a little bit. Don't worry, it's not going to be this dark. Ooh, it's looking a bit much. Okay, push this down to like 20%. Just to kind of frame it out a bit more. I just wasn't convinced that that was really what we wanted. Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. It doesn't sit, at least it sits a bit better in the scene. So I know you can't really see, but the grain actually does help a lot in terms of sort of keeping the whole picture consistent, because what you'll have is that you'll have a picture shot on the green screen. It's obvious that it's not shot in front of something, it's actually shot on something that is still, because obviously pictures have not moving grain but just grain built into the picture, but they need moving grain to basically match the front picture. So I mean, you could match the grain, but this is probably the easiest way to do it, is just throw a blanket grain over the top of everything and render it out. Now I wouldn't actually suggest rendering out for this everything, just adding grain. Like, probably the easiest way to do it is to actually render out 20 seconds of this stuff. And so if we go layer, new, solid, and we pick the color gray, we'll pick exactly gray, we'll go okay. And if we put this on, you'll see there's actually grain there. So what you can do is render 20 seconds of that out, which will be a lot quicker. And then once you've done that, throw that over the top of this footage and just loop the grain, and then put it as an overlay, and so the gray will key through, and you'll have your grain. And you can always adjust the opacity of your grain layer to if it's too much grain or whatever you like to do. So yeah, I hope that's kind of helped. I hope that makes a lot of sense. If not, I guess I'll have to try and cover more stuff in another tutorial, but that's basically it for, you know, some basic green screening. I mean, it's not that it's not like this is a very difficult tutorial. It's just that there's a lot of little things I don't think everybody knew. If I knew this stuff when I first started, it would have helped me out a lot and I would have understood a lot more. But unfortunately, through trial and error, you kind of work out these things. So yeah, it's not very hard. I actually put a little bit of a blur in the background there too, to kind of make it look a little bit more like cinematic, I guess. So, and I did a bit of color correction as well, so keep it a bit more, you know, a different kind of look about it. But yeah, I hope that makes sense, and I guess I'll see you next time.
Well, this week's inspiration is some slam poetry, and everybody, well, at least I think everyone loves slam poetry. And this is some slam poetry about the gospel. And it's got some awesome camera moves and some really interesting effects going on that really help compel this story and make the story even more interesting to watch. But if you want to find even more inspiration, make sure to check out CMD.tv/inspiration for our daily morning motion series, where you're going to find a ton more inspiration. But I want you to check out right now the gospel.
It's the full story of life crushed into 4 minutes. The entirety of humanity in the palm of your hand, crushed into one sentence. Listen, it's intense, right? God, our sins, paying everyone life. The greatest story ever told that's hardly ever told. God. Yes, God, the maker and giver of life. And by life, I mean any and all manner and substance, seen and unseen, what can and can't be touched, thoughts, image, emotions, love, atoms, and oceans. God. All of it is handiwork, one of which is masterpiece, made so uniquely that angels look curiously. The one thing in creation that was made with his imagery, the concept so cold. It's the reason I stay bold, how God breathed in a man and he became a living soul. Formed with the intent of being infinitely, intimately fond. Creator and creation held in eternal bond. And it was placed in perfect paradise till something went wrong. A species got deceived and started lusting for his job. An odd list of complaints, as if the system ain't working. And used that same breath he graciously gave us to curse him. And that sin seed spread through our soul's genome. And by nature of your nature, your species, you participated in the mutiny. Our sins. It's nature inherited. Black in the human heart. It was over before it started. Deceived from day one and led away by our own lust. There's not a religion in the world that doesn't agree that something's wrong with us. The question is, what is it? And how do we fix it? Are we eternally separated from a God that may or may not have existed? But that's another subject. Let's keep grinding. Besides, trying to prove God is like defending a lion, homie. It don't need your help. Just unlock the cage. Let's move on how our debt can be paid. Short and sweet. The problem is sin. Yes, sin. It's a cancer. an asthma, choking out our life force, forcing separation from a perfect and holy God. And the only way to get back is to get back to perfection. But silly us, trying to pass the course of life without referring to a syllabus. This is us. Keep up your good deeds. Chant, pray, meditate. But all of that, of course, is spraying cologne on a corpse. Or you could choose to ignore it as if something don't stink. It's like stepping in dog poop and refusing to wipe your shoe. But all of that ends with how good is good enough. Take your silly list of good deeds and line them up against perfection. Good luck. That's life past your pay grade. The cost of your soul, you ain't got a big enough piggy bank. But you could give it a shot. But I suggest you throw away the list, because even your good acts are an extension of your selfishness. But here's where it gets interesting. I hope you're closely listening. Please don't get it twisted. It's what makes our faith unique. Here's what God says is part A of the gospel. You can't fix yourself. Quit trying. It's impossible. Sin brings death. Give God his breath back. You owe him. Eternally separated, and the only way to fix it is someone die in your place, and that someone gotta be perfect, or the payment ain't permanent. So if and when you find a perfect person, get him or her to willingly trade their perfection for your sin and death in. Clearly, since the only one that can meet God's criteria is God, God sent himself as Jesus to pay the cost for us. His righteousness, his death, functions as payment. Yes, payment. Wrote a check with his life, but at the resurrection we all cheered, because that means the check cleared. Pierced feet, pierced hands, blood-stained son of man, fullness, forgiveness, free passage into the promised land. That same breath that God breathed into us, God gave up to redeem us. And anyone and everyone, and by everyone I mean everyone, who puts their faith and trust in him and him alone can stand in full confidence of God's forgiveness. And here's what the promise is, that you are guaranteed full access to return to perfect unity by simply believing in Christ alone. You are receiving life. Yes, life. This is the gospel. God, our sins, paying everyone life.
Well, this week's freebie is a game that many of you already do, but we just started doing in the youth ministry that I help with, called Moto, and this game is called Moose Moose. Now, as I said before, probably a lot of you already do this, but if you want some supporting graphics that go with it, because me as a graphics guy, I got to create a graphic to go with everything we do to make it all kind of come together. So I made this graphic for Moose Moose. It's super simple, but it gets across the point, and it'll be in widescreen and in full screen on the website for you guys to download, as well as some editable slides inside Photoshop of all the list of different things and all that kind of stuff. So I'll also have the link, if you're wanting to play this game, to the directions of how to play this game, so you can find out how to play Moose Moose. It's a really fun game. Our students really enjoyed it. So I encourage you guys to check that out on the website, cmd.tv/moose moose. Download it today. Well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. Hopefully you guys learned some new stuff in today's episode. And thanks again to Nick Koo for his awesome tutorial. If you guys want to find out more from him, you can check out his website, nickkoo.com, and you can find him on Twitter. I think it's twitter.com/NickKoo. So you can find him there. There's tons of great stuff on his website. I'm always checking out all the fun stuff he's doing in Blender and, you know, crazy business that he's up to. So check that out and look for more tutorials coming from him in the future. But CMD is back for a good season now. We're going to be producing a bunch of shows in the coming weeks here. So there's going to be a good plethora of new info coming your way here. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I encourage you to leave them on the show notes page here at cmd.tv/126. You can leave all your comments comments there, as well as if you want to find me online, you can find me at twitter.com/CMD TV, as well as facebook.com/bradley.zimmerman. Also, I'm starting to do more with our Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/CMDTV, so you can check that out. And I added my Twitter feed to that, so now all of my Twitter posts are being pushed to there, so all the website posts are being pushed to there and all that kind of stuff. So that's a great place to find all of the different content that's going on. So I encourage you guys to interact with that Facebook page, as well as if you guys want to send me a good old snail mail of an email, you can find me at brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv and find my email address there. So again, if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know, but it's good to be back. And as for me and my favorite bobbleheaded friends, we're saying, see you later.